Me this morning is just a little bit. Great to have you joining me this morning, and a great day and great weekend ahead for us all, I hope. And today, what I wanted to talk about quickly is this idea of assumptions, and we're dealing with the Garden of Eden here, and today we're looking at the one part of the Garden of Eden where it was said, like, and whatever you do, don't eat of this. So God creates this garden, and again, think of that metaphorically, think of that as a picture, this beautiful thing. And then what God has in there is he says, yeah, but there's some rules here. And one of the rules, number one rule, do not eat of this tree. Do not eat of this tree. Now, what tree was that? Well, it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that's really fascinating, right? That here are these things in our life, and we're to enjoy them and love them, etc., etc. And then there's this one part, one tree that we're not to eat of, that we're just to approach with a lot of caution, and that's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's fascinating, right? Because let's look at it from one perspective. One perspective would say, well, we have to understand what good and evil are. We have to make those judgments. To which I would say, absolutely correct. In that sense, we have to always be making moral decisions and hopefully deciding things for the better. It's deciding to stop and help someone who's got a flat tire by the side of the road, deciding to help a child who's struggling, deciding to offer comfort to someone who's grieving. You know, all those things are moral decisions that we are clearly called to do. I mean, there's no way around it. So, second part, well, then what is this talking about? Well, what this is talking about in our life is that we will have many events happen. We'll have many things happen, some of which are for good, some of which are for ill, some of which we would love to repeat over and over again, and others we just wish we never had to go through. Many events we wish we never had to go through. That's what this is talking about here, folks. I think what this is saying, as I understand it, is that look, life will have this and it will have this. It will have those blessed events, it will have those broken events. There is no life that is outside of that. None of us gets gifted with a life that is perfect. And here is something else too. None of us is gifted with a life that is perfectible. You know, we can't perfect. It's not only not born perfect. I mean, it's easy to say that and then to think, well, whoa, I'll make it perfect. No, it's just not how it's going to go. Life is not perfectible. It's beautiful, wonderful, good, terrific, loving. I mean, all these things. Spend a stupendous, perfectible, not so much. And so, given that life is not perfectible, it's really important for us to understand that there will be this and there will be this, and our job is to hold both and to not to try to decide. Here's a beautiful, just a little piece of Christian New Church theology, where Emanuel Swedenborg says clearly our assumptions control us, even though they are often utterly false. Our assumptions control us. That's very powerful. Our assumptions do control us. We go through these events and we look at them, especially with negative things, and you think of this, the assumptions we make, at least I should say I make with them, because you may be far more involved than I am. I know when something negative happens, I am sure it's going to be that way for all time. Absolutely. I'm sure life is over, catastrophizing. It's going to be that way for all time, longevity. So it's catastrophizing and it's permanent. Both of those things are very challenging. And I think that specifically is what this is warning about. Because if I believe that, I'm actually eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I'm actually here to determine that this negative event will only be a negative event. There's nothing positive that will come out of it. Now, I want to give a caveat that there are some events where, at the very best, we're just not going to find in this life anything positive about it. And I think God would just have us grieve that. I think especially when we lose a loved one in tragic circumstances, there's not a recovery, quote unquote, from that. Yet a lot of life, there really is this, wow, that was really hard, and we have to stick with it. And that was really hard, and we have to stick with it. And that was really hard, and we have to stick with it. And as we do over time, we start to see something open up. We start to see in the long run, it may take decades until we really see, like, oh, that really made a difference in a weird way. And it's not like God gives us this really hard thing so that we learn. It's that this really hard thing happens when God does, in a very loving way, is tries to to bend it and move it in a way that hopefully there will be something positive out of it. Again, not the testing, like I'm going to give you hard things so that you learn. It's that there are hard things, and together God's going to walk with us through to try to get to a point where something positive happens. May not always occur, but my experience is it often does. I think back to myself, a personal example for me is I really struggled, in a large public high school. Um, this was my freshman and sophomore year. I changed schools my junior, senior year, but it was rough. I mean, it was a rough school and lots of fighting and lots of this and lots of that. I just did not thrive in that environment, needless to say. And I was bullied and this, that, and the other thing. And I look back at that time now and I think, wow, that actually was incredibly important because it definitely gave me a sensitivity, maybe sometimes too much, but a sensitivity around bullying and a sensitivity around how to come across to other people. It gifted me just an ability to read things in a different way, to use fancy pastor speak. I don't have much on IQ, but that clearly helped me with EQ, emotional intelligence. And I wouldn't want to go through that again. I would not want my kids to go through that. I would not want anyone to go through, that experience that I had freshman and sophomore year of high school. Yet I did learn and I did grow, and I can look back on it now and I can see, yep, God took that thing. And again, I don't think he put me in that situation so that I would learn a lesson. I think I was in that situation, and God over time has drawn some lessons out and bent some things in a more positive direction from that particular experience. And I think that's where, like, we just got to leave the tree alone. We don't try. We're not trying to parse it all out in terms of positive events, negative events. We're gonna have both, and just to know that God's gonna walk through us with all that. I mean, that's a very comforting thought indeed. And that means we're no longer trying to make all these assumptions about judging, and we're no longer allowing our assumptions to control us. We're just living life, getting God's with us here, and we move on one step at a time. That's the thought for today, folks, as we go into the weekend. So hopefully that helps you have a nice settled place to launch this weekend. And with that, we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, and then we'll hop onto some social media platforms and say hi to folks. So first off, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends. So let's take a look at what we have today. And again, I hope all of you are enjoying a weekend. I know here at New Church Live, we got quite a lot going on, and it will all start with Anna and Drew's wedding at the beautiful Bernathen Cathedral, and that will be tomorrow, which will be super, super fun to be part of. All right, friends, let's say hi to folks here. Jen writes, good morning, everyone. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Happy Mother's Day. Yes, the big happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Thank you for noting that, Jen. Susan, great to have you joining us from out there in the Midwest. I hope you're having a great weekend ahead. Sully, my dear classmate friend, great to have you joining us as well. I think, Sully, you're also joining us, if I'm not mistaken, from Michigan. So that's a couple of Michiganders in a row there. So good morning to you, Sully. Marcus, good morning. Good morning to you as well, buddy. Bonnie, I never understood what this was about. Great explaining. Thanks, Bonnie. And it is really fascinating, right? Because we have to make moral judgments, but I mean, so much. I mean, Bonnie, it's a total another sermon, but one of the fascinating studies that got a lot of press was even the good stuff. We can't make assumptions. The good stuff's always the good stuff. There's a famous study that was done where they took people who won the lottery and people who were paralyzed, quadriplegics, and they looked at their happiness. And when the lottery winners first won the lottery, happiness off the charts. But guess what? It didn't last. That thing they thought was such a good thing ended up not being so good a thing. So just something to think about. All right. Betty writes, good morning. Finally catching alive after this crazy week. I think of Noah's Ark when navigating through the changes of life, moments of mass destruction to moments of paradise. I hope this weekend is more paradise despite the wet weather. Yeah, we may have this storm moving in for like 3 days, Betty. Well, hopefully not 40. Noah's Ark is a great one. That's a great analogy. Great analogy. Paige wright, good morning, all. Yes, Paige. Good morning to all. Betty, Chuck, I would like to meet your bully. It's kind of funny, but I'll tell you some inside stories on that sometime, Betty, because there was a little bit of a full circle to it with at least a couple of occasions that were pretty funny. Sherry writes, home at last. Good morning, and so glad you made it home safe and sound, Sherry. Martha writes, good morning, and good morning to you. Jonathan, great to see you joining us out there from the fine city of Chicago, Glenview, Illinois. Good morning. Great way to start my day. Well, I'm so glad. Great to have you here, Jonathan. And Shannon, happy Friday. I'm so happy I was able to make this live. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and as we do for you. And by the way, Shannon, I have some small group ideas I'm going to be bending your ear about shortly as you join us out there from Austin, Texas. All right, friends. Well, wishing you all the best. I'm going to try to flip over here, see if I can do it to, I don't know that I can or not. No, I can't figure it out. So anyhow, we'll flip over to other social media platforms. Wishing you all the best, friends. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.